the home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
Views,
there's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
Sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.
Your beautiful face. You have your video on.
Hello.
I am so excited.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay, I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. I'm
Okay.
very, very excited. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to be our first guest here. My name is Mvusy Songelwa. I am the host of Lipstick Chronicles. We really, really appreciate that you connect with us on Vuka Online Radio.
Okay.
We thank you for gifting us with your presence, and we are looking forward to your wisdom and insights about the womanhood. We will call it young woman in South Africa. I think your story needs to be told.
Oh, sorry,
And
Faith calling me.
yes, a story needs to be told. And one of the reasons why we're calling people like you is that we would like your voice to be amplified globally. It's not like the good things that you do only impact the people that are around you, but we really want to celebrate you and appreciate you as a young woman in South Africa. So we thank you very much from this platform for agreeing to share your gifts with us.
No worries, no worries. There's only a few
Okay.
things. There's only a few things that vex me, and tardiness is one of them. And it's something that I learned since I was 5 years old. You must ask all my friends. Everyone knows if I say I'm going to be somewhere, but I also understand things happen, and it's totally understandable. Computers decide to update themselves at the most inconvenient time. So I do get it. And I mean, obviously, we need to give each other, everybody needs to be given grace. That's what happens in life. But yeah, some people refuse to remain friends with me because of how insane I am about time. Because they
I actually love that. I actually love that because that's basically one of the things that I also don't like. But I'm really, really very grateful that you were able to hold on. It's very important that you actually put those boundaries. That's how authentic we want you to be here. And we actually celebrate that.
Oh, lovely to meet you, Dr. Mvusy.
Okay, Geslowasam, thank you very much. Now, you are our first guest. Can you believe that? For season 3. Lipstick Chronicles has been around for the last 2 years. And each year, what we have done is to invite powerful women like you. And this year, what we are doing for the world is to bring young South Africans to really talk about what it is to be a young woman in South Africa. Just before we start with that conversation, can you really introduce yourself to the world in the way that you would like the world to know you?
I'm Lorraine Mooi. I was born in the Eastern Cape, so I always tell people that's where I get all of this from. It's in the soil. There's nowhere else to find it. I'm a plumber by profession, and I go by the Plumbing Duchess. A lot of people call me the Duchess, which is fine. I do. I'm trying to always elevate the trades in every way, shape, and form. I live, breathe, eat, sleep, water. I'm the host now. Okay. And I've immersed myself in every part of the water sector, not only my plumbing sector. I'm now the first Black woman to be the vice president of the Southern African Society of Trenchless Technology. I am en route to becoming a master plumber. And in general, I love anything where women are the minority and we can come in and we can transform that sector. That is just my mission in my life, and that is what I love and what I love to do. And also, I just wish that everybody would just realize how cool trades are. And even if you don't become a plumber, learn some kind of skill for yourself and not, even if it's not a career.
Laughing Duchess. You know, I was so excited when I was reading your bio. I'm not sure if people actually got to hear exactly what that is. Tell us about the Duchess part of it. Why Duchess?
So my mother was a plumber, and I always called her the plumbing queen, you know. So as I and people always ask me that. It's like, but why not? Because you're the plumbing queen. I say my mother's the plumbing queen.
Wow.
And because of that, I took on the nickname of the Duchess actually earlier on in my life. And it's just always stuck. So then I just decided I should just become the plumbing Duchess. And
Wow.
that's why I'm the plumbing Duchess.
Wow. That's actually very nice. So where were you born in the Eastern Cape?
I was born in Butterworth.
In Butterworth, we call it Egua. It's on my way to my own hometown to Ukombo. So I'm very, very excited to have you on this platform. I'm not going to assume about who your woman leader who has had a significant impact on your life, or although you actually spoke about your mother. But I really want to know who was a woman leader, a mentor, teacher, or family member that you can think of that had that significant impact on your life.
My mom, my
Mm.
mother, Lorraine Mooi. She's all of that and more. Um, sorry, I might just start crying.
It's okay. It's okay.
Um, she passed away 2 years ago, so it's been a very hard
It's
transition.
okay.
Oh, goodness.
And this is the time
Oh,
that we are celebrating her. How excited I am. Oh my gosh.
she'd be like, why? She'd ask me, like, why are you actually crying? Why
I
are you
know.
actually crying on stages, my child? Now you'll just be actually knowing that woman who was crying.
That's absolutely acceptable. It's absolutely acceptable.
Yeah. But yes, she changed the trajectory of my life. My mom didn't raise me. I stayed with my grandmother
Yes.
since I was 3 up until I was about 20. And I had a bit of a early life crisis, as I call it. I was studying financial information systems, and I realized in the first 6 months, which was like 2005, that this is not for me. And
Mhm.
by the time that I got to third year, I was completely just lost. And my mom said to me, "You turning 20, you're about to get your first diploma, and you're acting like it's the end of the world. You know, you're young, you can still find your way. At 20, I was a mother of 2 children, and you have done more than I did at the age of 20."
Yes.
So at that moment in time, as I'll tell her years later, I said, "You saved my life."
Mm. Wow. Wow. And that's kind of like
Sure.
some other people, parents, elderly people had this kind of life that they actually foresee for their own children. And
Yeah.
for your mother to actually say to you, listen, life goes on.
Yes, she was very much, that was her. My father, on the other
Yeah.
hand, he had a very different idea, but that's a story for another day. My mom,
Mm.
my mother, my mother then said to me, "You know, you've got a year." And at that point, I was leaning towards law, actually. And she said to me, "You've got a year to figure yourself out, not on my couch. You can either work for me or I can find you a job." So I said, "I'd rather work for you." I thought it would be easy, would
Mm-hmm.
be the lesser of two evils, as they call it. But that's what happened. And at the time, my mom, when I started my diploma at CPUT, she was 38 and I was 18. And she started plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
So she had started studying to be a plumber at that point. So the time that I went home 2 years later, she had this construction business and she was known as, the plumber. And that's where I started learning about females and males and elbows and and all and nipples. I was like, hey, but what are people talking about?
That's feminine, eh?
But it is because plumbing is a male dominant. I mean, that's like it's obvious that the men were the ones who decided these names. I mean,
Yeah.
when you see,
Wow.
yeah.
Tell us about your plumbing experience. I mean, this before we get into the women issues, are we more interested in from when did you start? What have been your achievements at this point in time? Where are you based?
Okay.
Everything about your business.
All
Because
right.
this is exactly what we're looking for people that are making an impact, young women that are already making an impact in their lives.
Thank you very much. So at that point, I moved home and I said, okay, I'll give it a year and then I'll see what I want to do with the rest of my life. And my first job, and I always think that my mother was trying to deter me because I grew up on construction sites. My aunt was in construction as well. And the first job she gives me is installing 7 toilets in Butterworth Hospital. And so I get there and she's with me and I'm like, so mom, where are the people? She's like, you are the people. So what I need from you, number one, I need you to remove all these pans and these cisterns and we need to lay the pans. I'm like, pan like a frying pan, because I know what you're talking about. She's like, oh, okay. This part is a pan where you sit on. Then this flappy part is a seat. I'm like, oh, okay. And then where the water comes in is a cistern. I'm like, oh, all right. So she said, today all the pans must be set, almost everything must be removed, pan set. And then tomorrow I need to, and also time is money. So you need to hurry up. So at that point, these are live toilets. People are utilizing these bathrooms. And now obviously it is just everything you can think of and worse. So she showed me how to install the first toilet. And she said to me, good luck and I'll see you later. And if you waste my time, this is gonna come out of your pay. And I was like, mother. I was like, mother. It's like, don't play with my money. It's like, okay. And I remember the first one, and I was on the second pan. And by the third one, I was like, I'm in love.
Wow.
And it was just like that. It was just like, I'm in love. I said, this is it. This is what I want. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to work with my hands. I want to be able to take toilets apart and put them together. And I want to be able to do all these amazing things. And I remember by the end of the first day, I said to her, I've chosen what I want to do. I want to be a plumber. And she looked at me and she said, okay. And she was just kind of like, she didn't believe me. She thought maybe it's just one of those things. But there's one thing my mother used to always say about me. She said, there's one thing about my daughter is that when she makes a decision, she sticks with it, no matter what. So she realized that I was serious. Then I said to her, if we're going to do this thing, we're going to do it properly because we are 2 Black women in the sky. No one's going to believe we're plumbers. So what we need to do is that we need to find a school, another school, a little bit more advanced than the one that you went to. And we need to be serious and we need to qualify. And I had to research. I was like, where's the one place that, it's the hardest place to qualify, which was Olifantsfontein here in Gauteng. So for the next 5 years, my mom and I would go, one would stay behind and work and make money for school fees while the other one went to school. And we did that for 5 years on and off. And then in 2013, 1st of July, 2nd of July, I did my trade test. And by 10 o'clock on the 2nd of July, I had my red seal and I was a qualified plumber.
Hold it there. Hold it there. The producers are going to kill me. Let's go for a quick break. I want us to continue with these conversations now that you have qualified. Just for a quick break.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
Would he say it's a really good ball? It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.
Yes, we're back again. Tell us more. And then?
And then my mom qualified later in the month, but the whole month, I would say to her, you know, the plumber needs. And she would look at me and she's just like, and I'd all say to her, remember, I did this first time round. I didn't do any. And she would laugh and she would say, oh, you are my child after all. Anyway, so
Yes.
she qualified end of the month, and we were so happy. It was just something that we had worked so hard for. And to be able to go on that journey with my mother is something that I can never explain to another human being, because it was awesome,
Yes.
because we understood. And weirdly enough, both of us, our competencies, I mean, we could do the full service plumbing, but she was drawn more to the drains. So that's why I call her the unblocking queen. And then I was more
Yes.
to water reticulation and all the other stuff. So that's how we split ourselves, just naturally. And then I said to her, and what actually also spurned us in qualifying was that there was a tender that went out and we couldn't get it simply because we were not part of the Institute of Plumbing, South Africa. And I was like, then I looked at the requirements and I was like, okay, so we need to tick this off one by one. And we started, and we got, the first thing was qualification. We had a registered business, we had all the other things in place. But the one thing that unlocked it for us was the qualifying part. And from there, we then registered with the professional body and we became licensed plumbers. So we could issue out COCs. And you know, when we would show up and people would say, we're the plumbers, we just show up, we put our cards, we say,
Yep.
we're the, and they're like, oh, okay, mother and daughter, how did that happen? Now we must sit there and tell the story.
Yeah.
But from there, I just realized, I said, there's people making decisions in this industry and I don't know who they are. And I want to know who are these people making decisions for me as a plumber in this industry. So I started doing some research. We then went to an event for IOPSA. They have they've got regions all over, and we went to the one in East London. And remember we attended the event, and the guy asked, one of the gentlemen asked, he goes, "Are you lost?" And we're like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "This is for the plumbers." So my mother answers, and she goes, "And are you qualified?" He goes, "No, I'm still at API." So she goes, "Then I don't understand what your problem is, because we are qualified. So run along." And I remember the other gentleman, older guys, his name was Steve and the other one was Tony. They said, "We are so glad that we have women that have joined this industry that are qualified." And these gentlemen took us under their arms and they mentored us, and they were just a part of the journey. And you know, from there, we became full members, and they put me in the committee. The next thing, now I'm in a committee. I was like, okay.
Yes.
And I said to myself, you know what, this is step one. I mean, it is a regional committee, but one day I might find myself at national, but let me get to understand the lay of the land. And this is where I then met my other mentor, Mr. Steve Brown. I organized an event, and there was building control officers, and they'd been trying for months or even years to try and get this whole meeting happening, and I got it done. And he shows up, and I remember he looked at me and he said to the guys, and he said to them, "I'm so glad that you've got a woman who's a plumber on your committee. So understand one thing, this girl is going places. She's going to leave you all in her dust." And I looked at him like, okay. And we had never met. I had all heard stories about how he is, you know, the pinnacle of plumbing in South Africa. And this man just said that. And he met my mother later on, and he just said, "I'm so proud of both of you for persevering," because a lot of people don't point. And
Yes.
from then on, I just said to myself, whatever needs to, and it's volunteer basis, you don't get paid to be in the committee. And I
Mm-hmm.
volunteered, and my mother was there supporting me. And we would go to meetings, we'd go to PE so that we could get CPD points because were aligned with the professional body. We're based in Butterworth. Our other work is in Mthatha,
Yes.
so it's a distance. And we would do this because we were so invested in our careers. And that
Five,
was,
6 hours drive.
yes, for just for a workshop that's 2-3 hours. Then we know, okay, so we're not going to be out of the office for these days, but we have to go. And then from there, in the meantime, my mom and we had started a plumbing shop because we realized in Butterworth, it was just taking too long. If we have to do anything, we have to go to East London
Yes.
first, then come
Yes.
down. That takes a day out of it. So we got funding through Floorworks Africa, who helped us open a shop in 2010. So while we're going through this whole trying to qualify, we've got this going on as well. And we had our plumbing business also. But I have to say, from the time that we qualified, it just opened more doors for us because people are like, okay, then you guys are serious about what you're doing. And then from there, the professional body, Plumbing Industry Registration Board, they sent out expression of interest for the board in 2017. And I said, let me try. We never know the magic. And then I was put on the board as a board member, I was accepted. And again, first Black woman to ever sit on there. And in the room, obviously, it's very male, very white. There was another black guy. But then I said, but this has got to change. I can't always, I just said to myself, it can't be that you're the only one in this room. And from there, it was just always trying to understand what are we doing to transform the industry. And then I became the transformation chairperson of the plumbing industry in 2018. And I said to them, I'm not going to be your blompot. We need to do things that are actually going to push the needle. And what we did is, and over time, from that time, I qualified probably about 2016, our stats were 1.2%. No, actually less than that, was 0.8%. We're now sitting at about 3.6% women that are qualified plumbers in South Africa.
Wow. 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 Wow.
And and I understand for a lot of people, plumbing is not the most glamorous thing that they think of, but it is such an integral part of what we do and how we survive as a species. So that's why I always start off and I tell people I'm an essential service. I didn't understand how your problems in COVID because I didn't have those problems. I was out here being an essential service. So from there, obviously you can have an industry-wide initiative, but I thought you can't, and I used to say to my mother, you can't become something you don't see. So that's when I started with one of my co-founders, Kayla Wilson. We started South African Women in Plumbing. That was the original name. Because we wanted women to see that you can be more than just the secretary, you can be more than just existing within the ecosystem, actually push the envelope. And wherever you are, whether you're a plumber, you are in sales, you are in admin support staff, wear that badge with pride. When people ask me, what do I do? Before I tell them, oh, the other waffle, I'll tell them always, I'm a plumber. I'm just a plumber. That is me. That is
You
who I
know,
am.
Lorraine, I'm quiet and giving you a voice for a reason. Because exactly from what you're talking about, is that in this country at this point in time, we talk about high percentages of youth, of graduates that are unemployed, and people actually want to be employed. Ne? That's the first thing. The young people, to your point, when they talk about business, they looking at at glamour, the things that can be glamorous to go on TV and whatever. And here you are, well educated, very you know, you're not coming from a point of, it was your choice. You were not directed to this. You would have been a deck person for good reason, and you would be earning a lot of money. I'm really much interested as well to what's at the core of who you are. What does that mean for you as a young Black South African woman? And I want you to respond to this question after the break.
How do you know the life of personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
Welcome back, Lorraine.
Uh,
Welcome back, Lorraine. If you can just really talk to the world about what it means for you as a South African in the midst of what we see, and how you as a leader can change
You
the
know,
world like what we have done.
I think, the one thing that people will meet me and they'll say to me, the way that you make plumbing sound, you make it sound so exciting, so cool. And I say always, because it is. And, as much as you say, I could have gone into an IT and the finance streams. I remember years before, I'll get to your answer now. This gentleman, I was interviewed for some award. I'd been nominated. And he said to me, but you've got a diploma in FIS. Why aren't you working? And I said, because I have no interest in that. But you're just wasting your time, whoa. And he was getting so excited about it. And I remember saying to him, you need to calm down. Number one, I have no interest in this. And then right after that, when I then told my father, who's a doctor, that I want to become a plumber, he lost his mind completely. He just was like, you know what? I'm done. I wash my hands, and he disowned me. So,
Literally.
Literally, in the literal sense. And this happens to me at the age of 21. So you kind of like, but why? I mean, I'm doing something that, and he said, it's because of your mother. I knew it. And I said, you know what? Has nothing to do with her. It was purely my choice, and I stick by my choice 120%. So I always say to young people, when people ask me, like, why would you get into this? And I say, because I've always found that you must do things that align with what makes you, you. I love puzzles. And for me, plumbing is a very big puzzle that I put together. And when I start...
You put nipples and
bushes,
what?
And bushes. And then
And
male,
bushes together.
put the male inside the female.
The languaging of plumbing. This is my first time to hear this.
I'm like, what are you talking? But that is the language of being a plumber. Okay. And I would say that, when I was in high school and there was no one from the TVETs, there was no one from even private colleges, trades colleges that were coming there. All we had were universities. And everything was university, university, university. And I said, if someone had told us there's a whole nother world, I only discovered this world thanks to my mother, but there's a whole nother world where you can learn skills and it is something that is a viable career. I'm always just taken aback by the fact that TVETs and higher education do not go out and actively say to individuals, become artisans. And not because you didn't get into your first choice university, but simply as this is a viable career path. And you can utilize the skill within South Africa, within Africa, and internationally. Because there's a shortage of individuals across the world. It's not a South African problem only that young people don't want to be artisans. They think of it that you are somehow lacking chromosome, like you have diminished mental capacity, which is, I don't understand how, because these are people that you trust to come into your house to make sure that you have hot water to shower, that you have lights that work, and also the structure of the house. Because if someone can't understand, have comprehension, this house would be falling down, would it not be?
Mm-hmm.
Same people are mechanics that work on the cars that you utilize on a daily basis, but you look down on them. And I think
Yes.
a lot of more artisans came to the forefront and said, this is what I do, this is my job, and actually went out to actively show young people what is possible. I think we'd have a very different, number one, view of it, because artisanship is just viewed as something as you just do it to keep yourself busy, to get a stipend, and then when you get your first choice, you run
Yes.
there.
Yes.
And I will, this is something I say to everybody. Skills should be learned, even if you decide to become a doctor, lawyer. It is something imperative that you should learn to have a skill in
Yeah.
some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, skills have changed my life. If I had never become a plumber, I would have not been in the same room that I'm in right now with you.
Yeah.
I've been in places that have changed my life and changed my perspective. When I was in 2018, I won Industry Lady of the Year the first time. And I remember winning it, and I was taken aback because I'd never thought that there was going to be this kind of hoo-ha involved in even that the plumbers recognize themselves. And I remember when I won that, when my mother said, "This one is mine. Next year you can win, that one will be yours." I was like, "Oh." And then 2019, I won again. And I remember just saying to myself, but I can't win a third time, because what is this?
Yeah.
Is there only one woman that's, so how do we open it up? And
Yes.
I'm so passionate, and it is something that it lives and breathes within me, is that I want to take this message to young people all over South Africa, from
Yeah.
the ruralest of areas, because I've lived in the rural areas, I've lived in the suburbs, I've lived in the townships. So I've been exposed to those conditions, and I've also been exposed to how individuals think when they're in that area, that, you know what, if I can just get this office job and I can be somebody. Whereas if you could just look at the fact that, and I know that not everybody can be an artisan, guys, I get it. But if it was put in a light in the same way that people revere doctors and lawyers, it would have a very different perspective on young people and how they think of it. And something that the Reserve Bank governor said to us when I was at a lunch with him a couple of years ago, and he said, the difference between everybody else in this room is that they're looking for a job. You are able to create jobs.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
something that is an integral part of artisanship. And I could talk about this for hours, and I know we don't have hours, but I am so adamant about this. Even next week, I'm off to Tabanchu, Motea
Mm-hmm.
to speak to the plumbers for 3 days. And I'm going there, and I just want them to see what the world is their oyster. You
You
are,
know, sure, you've just changed the narrative for me. And as I'm listening to you, I'm just kind of like thinking, if you go to the rural areas right now, you have seen so many households that have changed. People have mansions, people are building beautiful houses. And if youth in the rural areas are able to, to follow your career, and see the artisans as this artisanship as a kind of a business that is lucrative. Maybe very few people would be sitting, along the roads and playing cards, and or probably people complaining. And it needs champions like yourself to change this narrative, that we can actually look at things and our surroundings differently. I'm very, very touched and inspired by your experience. I know we don't have a lot of time, but what I want to give you the last time after break now is to really talk about exactly what you would tell the people that you're going to in Tabanchu, inspiring young women about your own story.
Thank you.
This is a break, and we'll come back.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
As we are about to wrap this inspiring conversation with Lorraine, I would like the listeners to write to us, engage with Lorraine, ask so many questions that probably even the young people would like to ask her, because this is why we have this Lipstick Chronicles for youth in season 3, to inspire youth, to engage youth as elderly people, and youth to engage with themselves about what are other opportunities that are out there, and how can youth themselves make an impact in their own societies. Lorraine, your parting words about what would you tell a young Lorraine?
Oh my goodness, don't take yourself so seriously. She's very intense. Lorraine in general is I'm very hard on myself, and I think that's one thing that my mother would say to me constantly. She's like, you need to calm down. I'm very hard on myself. But
Yes.
also, and this is something that I've known since I was very young, and some people might see it as conceited, but I've always said that I knew I was on this earth to change the narrative in some way and inspire individuals, because I've been, my whole family, I was raised by women, and I have, this family that raised me on, a woman has to make sure that she's able to take care of herself. My grandmother would say that if you don't have your own money, then you become a victim. It is important that you have your own money. My mother would say to me, education is important. How you get, regardless of what you decide to study, make sure that you are dedicated to it and become a master at it. And that was what she would always say to me. She says, you must remember, as a black woman, doesn't matter whatever stage of life you're in, you are forever having to work 10 times harder than anybody else in the room. So you've got to show up over and over and show excellence all the time. And a lot of what I do is that I volunteer. I may sit on this board and that other boards. Those boards are volunteer basis. And a lot of people, young people don't want to hear about that. They want to know that where can I get to the ones where I'm just going to get paid a whole lot of money. And there is something in volunteering, because I have learned so much, been putting my hand up to type out minutes, to type out notes, or there's a new document that needs to go out to industry, and there's going to be a closed group of experts that are going to work in it. And I'll say, I will sit there and I will type that document. Because as I was sitting in that room, I've got a Martin who has been in the industry for 40 plus years, got another gentleman who's been in for 20 plus years. And I'm sitting there and I'm receiving that knowledge without having to go, without having to pay for it. So as much as people see volunteering as, for some people, they're like, no, but why would I waste my time? It is something that is imperative, and I wish more young people would do it, because you would learn so much. Mentorship is integral part of myself. I have been mentored by my mother. I was mentored by my dad who adopted me, Clive Berlin. He has been an integral part. As my father decided to leave, he came in and he took over that role. And my dad has been an integral part of, if I've hit a brick wall in this way, because he was the CEO of Caltexis and Cape Marketeer. And I would listen to his story of how he got Caltex started in the Eastern Cape after franchising it, and how they almost gave up. And he would say to me, at 55, I was restarting my life. So I've had to learn that at any point of your life, it's never too late. It's never late. And people are always trying to get to the front of the queue by 25, by 22, by 23, and they've got so much pressure on themselves, not realizing that at any point of your life, you can change that narrative. My mother qualified, she was in her 40s, and she was more proud of that than anything else that she had done prior to that.
Yeah.
So look at your race. It's your race. Your race is you and you alone. Do not look at
Wow.
the other lane. You could look that side and see Doc, and looks like she's cruising along in her lane, and you're like, her lane looks easier. Only to find out you have no idea that she is pedaling like this, but you don't see her sweat
Absolutely.
because you can't.
Absolutely.
She's in her lane and she understands where she's going, where her direction is going, and why she's doing what she's doing. And that is why I tell even my mentees that I mentor, I tell them all the time, guys, everything happens in the time that it should happen. But you need to prepare yourself also for your blessings. You cannot ask God to buy me, I want a car, I want a car. Do you have a learners? Do you have a drivers? Who's going to drive this car? But you need to
Wow.
prepare for your blessings.
Lorraine, I wish the producers could give us 2 hours, because there's just so many insights that are coming out of these conversations. And I think for me, what I'm taking away and what this is confirming is the fact that when we talk about women in leadership, we think that we can only find them in offices, or in the boardrooms, or we only look at the glamour. What this confirmed for me is that leadership is actually exists everywhere at every other level of our society. Young leaders are actually there for us to learn from. For instance, I mean, at my age, I am inspired about what you're talking about. That it really you can change your life at any other time. Before, we used to actually think that when you are in your 20s, 30s, you are in your prime. Now at 60, you can be in your prime as well. So thank you very much for that insight, and we really appreciate you. Sise. What the producers would like to do for you is to play a song for you
All right.
as gratitude. So please give us any other song that you would like us to play for you.
Yeah. All right. I have to, if I tell you right now?
Right now, tell us this song, because this is a song we'll play for you. You've been speaking about your mother, who's your role model.
So, my mother and I, she had a sense of humor. So at one point in life, I introduced her to hip hop. So she was very much a hip hop girly. And there's a song I would play, which was Still Dre. And there's a line where Dre says, even when I was close to defeat, I rose to my feet. And my mother would love, she would say, play it again. I want to hear it again. And everyone's like, where's your mother? I'm like, it's her vibe. She digs it. And it was one of the things that she loved was that song, but the clean version, of course.
Of course, the producers are hearing that request, and thank you very much, Lorraine. We really appreciate you and we celebrate you, Sissy. Your story needs to be amplified, because you can't be hard on yourself. You have to be soft so that we can actually learn from you. And we really need to tell your story more and more for other people throughout Africa and even globally, which is why Vuka Online is here is to amplify your voice globally so that other young women can learn from you. And we really thank you for your leadership. We thank you for the impact that you are making here in South Africa. And I'm sure with where you are going, you're going to make a global footprint as well. There we are, folks. We've been speaking to the Plumber Duchess. And thank you very much for tuning in. Dr. Mvusy Songelwa on Lipstick Chronicles on Vuka Online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Truly appreciate it.
Steven! I am just so inspired. My goodness me. Lorraine, so where are you based, Lorraine?
I live in Centurion. I'm in
You're
Gauteng.
in Century. Oh, I missed you when I was there. I'm now in Gqeberha, and really I appreciate you. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I'm sure we're gonna be talking sometime very soon.
No worries.
What we will do, we will, as we have explained, this is a pre-recorded thingy. We are going to be sending you when we are going to play it online so that you can invite other people to listen to you and you can listen to yourself as well.
I do love that.
You listen to yourself well, and thank you very much. And thank you for being authentic and be yourself. That's what we do here. We don't prompt people. We just yeah. Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Sissy. Thank you, Lorraine.
I appreciate it. When I'm in PE, I'll come. I've got family down there, so.
Please do. Let's keep in touch.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sissy. Okay. Bye. Oh, no. Is this
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What do you say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.